Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the Knifecenter. And today we're going to be taking a look at the Kwaiken pattern, which has enjoyed a bit of a resurgence these last few years. Let's check them out. So traditionally, the Kwaiken is a small dagger that was carried by the samurai class in Japan, and it had multiple uses from the practical to the ceremonial. But today we've been seeing them show up a lot in new folder designs. If you had to give credit to anyone for really kickstarting this trend, that would be Burnley, whose fixed blade Kwaikens have been very popular. He then collaborated with Boker to produce folding knife versions of his Kwaiken, and they've been extremely successful, launching a ton of different variations over the years. To say his interpretation of the design has been influential would certainly be an understatement. The way he rendered this knife out has sort of served as an archetype for all the rest of the Kwaikens that have followed. We start out with a fairly straight handle that sort of echoes the traditional Kwaiken pattern, as well as a trailing point upswept blade here with an edge that's almost entirely belly. With geometry like that, this knife is going to be a phenomenal slicer. It's going to orient very well when you're using it, as the natural curve of that edge is going to follow the motion of your arm as you're cutting through objects. Also, thanks to the very fine tip on this style knife, it's going to be a very fine piercer as well. As I said, there have been a ton of versions of the Boker Plus Kwaiken from Burnley. This particular one features titanium handles, although there have been a ton of different inlay options available over the years, from carbon fibers to woods and other materials as well. This is one of the flipper versions of this knife. Rides on IKBS bearings for very smooth action. We've also got a primary hollow grind on VG10 steel, as well as sort of a half-moon swedge here just on the middle of the blade only. Turning it over, this is a one-position pocket clip, right side tip up only. What's really nice about this is it carries nice and slim in the pocket, but there's still some heft to this knife. It's not a lightweight by any means, and you can really put this to hard use. In addition to flippers, there have also been thumb disc opening versions, as well as automatic versions. One thing you'll note on the front of this blade is it actually says Boker Plus USA, because to make this knife, they've actually partnered with ProTech, one of the finest makers of automatics in the business that have really snappy and phenomenal action. And the pairing of these two companies has turned out great. There are a few different versions of the automatic available, but this particular one happens to be a Knifecenter exclusive. We've got flat dark earth anodized aluminum handles and a 154 cm steel stone-washed blade. Apart from that, the form factor is the same Burnley Kwaiken you know and love, although we do get a little bit of a different treatment for the lanyard hole. They've actually integrated it into the butt of the knife so that it's a hidden attachment point, which makes for a cleaner look. So while the Burnley Kwaikens are a little more minimalist in appearance, this next one is a little more ornate. And this is the Todd Begg Steelcraft series Kwaiken. So the full custom versions of Todd Begg's Kwaikens can often go for thousands of dollars. So in order to get this down to a more affordable price point, they've partnered with Riot Knives in China to create this Steelcraft version. They've been doing phenomenal work, and it's instantly apparent when you hold this blade. I'll talk about the blade first a little bit. We've got a blackened stone-washed finish with S35 VN steel, and it also rides on an IKBS bearing. Whereas the Burnley version is almost entirely belly, we do have a little bit of a straight edge section here at the back. We've also got a nice swedge here at the tip, as well as a dual fuller running down each side. What I like most about this knife though is the handle, because it's not overly simple, but it's tastefully done with a lot of really fine machining. It creates a really nice look that, as I said, is not overdone, as well as forming some nice traction for your hand as well. The overall side is slightly contoured, so it's not flat. You do get a nice feel in the hand when you're using it. We've also got this mid-mounted channel on the handle, which sort of echoes the fuller on the blade. And these sections here are not actually inserts. Although it may look like a rubber grip, it's actually milled into the titanium itself. Flipping it over, we see an almost identical side on the back, although we do have the frame lock here with a replaceable steel lock bar insert. I also really like the way they've done the pocket clip on this knife. Like the Burnley version, it is right hand tip up only, but you've got a really nice shape that follows the spine of the knife and a nice ceramic ball here on the end that provides the retention. Overall, the fit and finish and attention to detail on this knife is impressive, and it definitely helps make it one of my favorite Kwaikens on the market. So whereas the Steelcraft followed the archetype of the Kwaiken with the straight handle and the trailing point blade and just kicked it up a notch, we've also seen some folks take that style and put their own spin on it, adding some swoops and curves to make it a little more sexy, and that's where we get the Brous blade sniper with Kwaiken blade. The blade on this knife definitely follows the archetype, this time with D2 tool steel and a stone-washed finish with a hollow grind. However, I love the way it flows into this handle. One of the things that really pumps up the style here is there's no straight lines on the profile of this knife. One swooping line flows into the next to create a very attractive profile. It also locks into your hand very well. We've got a prominent finger guard here, and it sits right there in front of your index finger, and your hand just melts into this handle. Feels really great. These are stainless steel handles, and they're stone washed as well. Together with that stone wash finish on the blade, this is going to make a great working knife over the years. Especially because we've got a really strong frame lock mechanism with an over travel arrestor that's actually integrated into the pivot itself. This next modern Kwaiken takes into account the more tactical side of things, and that's the Emerson Tactical Kwaiken. Anyone who knows Emersons knows that they're tactical beasts, and this knife is no exception. We've got a blade that's almost 4 inches long with 154 cm steel, and this one also sports a stone-washed finish. You can also get it in black-coated versions as well as partially serrated versions, but this is the plain edge here. Whereas a lot of Emersons are chisel ground, this one does feature a conventional double V bevel, although the sharpened edge itself is primarily done only from one side. Moving back, we've got a very aggressively textured G10 handle, which means that when you really need to lock this knife into your hand, it's not going anywhere. There's 2 ways to open the blade on this knife, and one of them is that key Emerson feature of the wave. What this wave allows you to do is that as you're drawing it from your pocket, this little hook will actually catch the hem of your pocket and allow you to rotate the blade open as you pull it out, making for very rapid and reliable deployment. Sometimes though, that's just a little bit aggressive depending on what kind of environment you're opening your knife in. So in that case, we've got a spine-mounted thumb disc, which acts as ambidextrous thumb studs. Next up, we've got a look from Jake Hoback, and it's called the Kwaiback. He's taken this popular style and interpreted it with sort of a Western tanto style blade as opposed to the full belly. It's still a trailing point blade, but it's got a profile that more closely resembles the modern interpretations of these classic Japanese blades. This knife started out as a full custom version, but this one actually comes to us from Custom Knife Factory, who've been putting out really high-end mid-techs for quite a while, and they've really done justice to this blade. For steel, we've got M390, and as you can see, it's a rather thick, robust blade. And the strength of this blade is backed up by the strength of the titanium handles. The frame is anodized bronze with a stone-washed finish, and we get a really nice carbon fiber inlay on both sides of the knife. We've also got a really nice pocket clip with Jake's signature axe milled into it. And overall, this is a knife that really imparts a feeling of strength when you grip it. I'd have no hesitation at all putting this knife to very hard use. We also carry other versions of the Kwaiback, including this very high-end production American-made mid-tech. This one features CTS XHP stainless steel, again with a stone-washed finish, and we've got an anodized bronze titanium frame, although other colors are available as well. This particular one features a bed form milled finish, which is exclusive here to the Knifecenter, and it's a really nice addition to this already solid knife by providing just a hint of traction that overall improves the feel in the hand. Also, the pocket clip features that signature axe, only this time it's actually punched out of the clip, which makes it even better. So these are just a few of the great Kwaikens we carry here at the Knifecenter, and we don't see this pattern going away anytime soon because it's stylish, practical, and collectible. If you want to get your hands on any of these knives or any of the other great Kwaikens we sell, click the link in the description below to head over to knifecenter.com.